from the 30s that used to be there, like the TVA, I'm sure.
Yeah, so there you go with that. And Craig's back, by the way, was at practice a minute ago. And they're not going to do a lot in front of the media, but it's open for video, for sound bites and all that later on after the show. And Craig, anything other than just watching athletes run around that you want to share with us?
I mean, I guess there's a couple things, but no, there's going to be no scientific breakdown of, tight end drills or anything like that. I mean, that's basically the portion that we watch is position groups. I guess Tyquan Thornton was out there.
Good.
As he gets ready to go to the NFL draft here in a couple of weeks. He's looking, like a surefire draft pick. It's just a matter of if it's a late day 2 or a day 3 type of thing. I'd probably lean towards day 3. I think that's when most everybody but Petrie's probably going to go is day 3. But Tyquan was out there just hanging out as he kills time until the draft. So it's always good to see, former players back. Some coaches out there, like high school coaches and whatnot are visiting as always. And, notice Javon, their receiving core right now is I don't know what's going to happen there. They have a lot of guys you can name their names, but if you want to name numbers next to those names, you basically come out with about 1 catch for 9 yards all of last year. I mean, there's no experience practically in that room. And not only that, this is an all-important time because of the fact that there's such little experience there. They're all hurt. All of them are hurt. So, they're like Jalen Ellis was out there, but he had an injury jersey on. So at least that's progress because last time I saw him, he wasn't going fully through drills. But at least it seems like they're getting some of those guys back. Even Garmin Randolph, who I wrote about yesterday, despite the fact that he's got a cast or whatever on his fractured hand, he was out there at least doing drills, so it's good that he's involved. He's not just sitting off to the side. He's getting as involved as he can, and got a little bit of Jackson Player. He looks good and quick, and you look at that D-line room with him and Cole Maxwell and Apu Ika and the rest of those guys, and that's a good-looking group there that Dennis Johnson has going. Trying to think, there's one. Squirrel Williams wasn't out there. I don't know if that's an injury thing or if that's a classroom thing where he's got a class.
Could just be so managing happens, too.
Could be managing. Yeah. He could have been in the indoor, and I just didn't notice him. So, but just noted that he wasn't out there. Didn't see him, nor Matt Jones, who's been hurt and hadn't been out there. So those were a couple that I noticed missing. But yeah, a lot of the other injured guys, they were at least looking like they were getting more involved. And Javon Gibson, who looks really solid physically. Does not look like a young receiver. He looks like a grown man. He was out running routes and stuff off to the side, so at least he's another guy who appears that he's working his way back. But they are a mash unit at wide receiver right now. Now, there's some guys that are healthy and able to go, but they don't have a whole lot of, if they did a scrimmage, they don't have a lot of depth to work with and get physical with because of Ellis and Presley, who wasn't out there, Hal Presley, because he's on a scooter, so he wasn't going to be able to do anything. So then Gibson was off to the side. Presley wasn't out there. Ellis was in an injury jersey, and there was another guy. And so that's kind of what they're dealing with right now. And they need those guys to get healthy and be ready to go. It's not make or break, right now, but the season's not far away, and they don't have a whole lot. That's why Grayson and I were talking earlier today. If they go get a transfer wide receiver, it would not surprise me in the slightest.
That's everything you just said. I mean, all I kept hearing is you may have to wait for the transfer portal and have somebody who, and probably somebody who's a grad transfer too. That might be where you lean.
They need an older guy
because they want an older guy, somebody who's seen some stuff, as opposed to one reception for 9 yards last year and an end around in the Sugar Bowl.
Speaking of the offensive line, Cup conversation. Last year I had a conversation with Coach Mateos about, was it a talent issue or a depth issue? And he had mentioned that he thought that the talent was there and that there was maybe a timeline, a clock that he could put in these kids' heads that had not really performed over 3, 4, or 5 years, and that maybe the end date could maybe get them to a different level, like Xavier Newman-Johnson or whatever. It was like last year you hoped you had 2 guys and you wanted to have 8. This year you have 8 guys, and they're all really pretty good. He mentioned Mazzucca. I keep saying his name wrong. He actually told me the name.
It's Mazzucca.
Micah, it's Mazzucca. You're right. Is really got an unbelievable potential to be a pro prospect.
Yeah, for everybody, like there's people that are still butchering Apu's name and Mazuka, and there's some other ones that come to mind that are mispronounced. The what do you call it? The phonetic spelling is on the programs and on the rosters and stuff. So that's how I learned how to pronounce Apu Ika's name correctly. And
Siaki
Apu Ika.
Yeah, Apu Ika. And for a long time it was Ika, I-K-A. And then also with the offensive lineman, Mazuka is how it sounds pretty good. It sounds like a bazooka as an offensive lineman as well.
That group looked pretty healthy. I'd seen a bunch of guys that were sidelined the other day that were running stairs while practice was going on, because that's what they had the injured guy, or that's what they had him doing that day, was just walking stairs and whatnot in the stadium. But today they look to be pretty, at full strength. I mean, again, just most of the injuries we were already aware of, but you're starting to see some guys come back, and it was just notable who wasn't out there. But again, that could be a class thing, or just had them working out indoors somewhere because they weren't able to be full goes. But I'm trying to think if there was anything. I mean, quarterbacks, just got to see them throw it around a little bit. Wasn't much to really say there. I mean, Gary looks like the guy. I'm pretty confident in that right now. Just based on everything that we've heard and really what's been said mostly, it's all just seems to point to him. But there's a lot of competition and a lot of good-looking cats out there. That's one thing that's noticeable is they look – I know it's like every spring you say this, but I think now it's not just seeing them get better physically like they did last year when you saw a huge jump under Vic Valoria. Now it's the actual guys that are bringing in are already built pretty well, and now they're getting some grown men. That's what I'm noticing.
We will have a segment here after our